thank you for coming to my channel. This is Rick's Garage, and today we're going to continue on with a build from iXO Collections, the Willys Jeep. Pack 16, stages 76 to 80. Now I put a link in the descriptions and a QR code on screen that will take you right over to iXO Collections if you'd like to get this for yourself. But without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, now before we get into the build, I want to kind of share with you as best as I can on how I did the wiring underneath the chassis. Now unfortunately I can't turn the Jeep totally upside down because I've got some detail parts like the windshield and so forth that would get in the way and I might break something. So I've got it on the side here, and hopefully you can see this where I've got the wires coming from in this direction over here and up as close to the underside of the chassis, and it runs along this support beam right here all the way through, and then it goes underneath this support beam right here. And then I've got the wires trailing in this direction all the way up into this area and through here. Okay, then I've got the connection is right here where this is the Y connector or the splitter, where these wires then are connected to the lights down here on the left and on the right. And then I painted the wires olive drab using Tamiya olive drab, painted them as much as I can. I didn't do too much on the connector right here because I didn't want to get the paint inside the connections, so that's not totally painted. But I did paint it as best as I could to at least try to blend it in just a little bit. And then I also extended the painting of the cable coming all the way out here, and this is going to attach to the trailer later on, or also maybe to the anti-tank gun. Now over here in the front of the Jeep, I have the wires going up and through here, and then along the side of the motor or the engine, and then it trails up into where it's going to connect to the light. The wire then comes down this way, that's going to connect to the other side of the Jeep, to the other light, which would be the right, and it goes in through this area right here, this little channel right here, and then it moves underneath the engine, and then it trails to the other side so the light can connect into the right light socket. And then I have the connector right here, and that is just pressed in there with just a little bit of tape, insulation tape that I painted green. And of course I got all the wires green as well. It's kind of hard to see because it's underneath the engine and it's kind of like in a dark area, but that's where I've got the connector is more or less taped onto what I think it's the firewall underneath. Okay, now I'll lift up the hood. And we'll take a look at the wires for the headlights. We'll zoom in. Now for the lights, see if I can't show this a little as best as I can. The wire comes up through the engine down and through there. Hopefully you can see that. It's the wire coming up underneath there. So it's underneath this support, engine support right here. It comes from underneath the engine support and then makes its way up to the light. And you can see that I have painted all that olive drab to blend in. And I did basically the same thing over here. I got a little bit of touch-up work on this to do in terms of the olive drab on the wire. But I've got this trailing up over the battery and then down through to the engine area and then underneath the engine. Comes down through the battery all the way down through there, and then it's secured underneath the engine to near the firewall. So that's how I've done the wires. Now typically when you do these types of builds for cars, the wiring for all the LEDs is sandwiched between the body and the chassis. But on this particular build, it's not. And it became a challenge to try to hide the wires as best as possible. Now I may end up actually bending the wire here down and then leading the wire between the battery and the front grate area here, and then leading that wire all the way down underneath the battery and then into the engine area. I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to do that or not, but that's something I've been thinking about doing. The reason why I haven't done it yet is because I'm a little nervous about it. If I bend that wire, I'm risking also breaking it, and I don't really want to do that. I've actually, on another build that I'm doing, I actually broke the connection when I was bending the wire down in order to fit into the area where it was supposed to go. So I'm a little cautious and gun shy about doing that. But I just wanted to share with you how I've done at least the wiring underneath the chassis. Hopefully you were able to see that, and might give you some ideas on how to run your wires on your build. Okay, on stage 76, it looks like we start to work on the spare tire that goes onto the back of the Jeep. So let's get these parts out and see what we got. Okay, and as before, I'm going to soak this in boiling hot water to make putting in the rims a lot easier. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to bring over a towel and then also the boiling hot water. I'm going to put the wheel into the water and let that soak for about a minute. Okay, now that the tire has been in the water for about a minute, take it out. Put this aside for a moment. Dry, get some of the water out using a towel. Take our rim, put that in like so. Take our other rim and line up our 4 holes to the 4 holes right here. Turn it around this way, play a little bit easier. And then secure that in with 4 BM screws. Now, securing this in when the tire is warm and pliable makes putting in these rims a lot easier. So get the second one in. I'm just going around the wheel here to make sure that all the screws are nice and tight. And you can feel both sides of the rim coming closer together as you tighten up the screws. Okay, and that's our rim on our tire. Okay, now I'm going to bring the Jeep over and looking at the rear of the Jeep. We're going to take this part here, and you'll notice there is a longer side here than there is over here. You want the short side, this side here, facing up like this. And these 4 screw holes on both sides are going to fit into these screw holes right here. So we're going to attach it like that, and we're going to secure that in with 4 WM screws. And there's that part installed. Okay, now next we're going to take this platform, looking like this. There's 2 holes there at the top and 1 screw hole here at the bottom, and that's going to attach right here to the screw hole here, these 2 screw holes here, and then 1 right down there at the bottom. So this is going to go on just like that, and we're going to secure that in with 3 DM screws. And there's that piece installed, looking just like that. Okay, next we take our spare wheel, looking like this, and it's this side here with a smaller end, not the side with the larger end. The side with the smaller end is going to slip over this lug right here. And then we're going to take our washer that we have, which is this right here, and put the washer in there, and then we're going to secure that in with an OM screw. So I get my screw, dip in a little bit of oil. Now the OM screw is a flange screw. That's going to go in just like this. We're going to secure that in nice and tight. Real tight. Okay, then we're going to take our hubcap, looking like this, Put that right on top of our spare wheel, just like that. It's just a push to fit. Push that in real tight. It is a tight fit. And that's our spare wheel attached, and that's all there is to do in that stage. Okay, on stage 77, we start to work on the tools that go on the outside of the truck. So let's get these out. Okay, the first thing we want is the handle to the shovel, which is plastic. And then we want the spade to the shovel, which is metal. And the handle has this curvature to it, and it's going to match up with the curvature that's on the handle, or excuse me, on the spade. What we're going to do is we're going to marry it into where the tip here is going to go into the groove, matching that shape, just like that. And we're going to secure that in with 2 MP screws. And that's our shovel completed, just like that. Okay, next, we're going to take our hatchet handle, looking like this. We're going to take the top part here, and we're going to marry it together just like this. And we're going to secure that in with 2, one here and one here, NP screws. And there's our handle fixed up. And then we need to take the blade, which is made of metal, just like that. And with our handle in this configuration, and the blade like this, there is a hole on this side. You want the hole to be facing down, like that. And then you just need to then just slip this in. It's just a push to fit all the way in, just like that, to get your blade onto your handle. Okay, then we want to take our tools, we're going to put them aside, and we're going to bring over the Jeep. Okay, then with the Jeep, on the left-hand side, over where these 2 holes are here, one here and one here, we're going to take this bracket, which is made of metal. We're going to fix it on just like this, and we're going to hold that in with 2 WM screws. Okay, next you want to take this plastic holder. This is what the axe is going to go into. You'll notice that there's a longer end and a shorter end. You want the longer end to go into the bottom hole down here. It's going to go in just like this, and this is just a push to fit. It's a little fiddly to get in because it's a delicate piece. So take your time with this. Okay, now that is a tight fit. The bottom lug here went in very easily. This top hole right here was very tight, and it was almost impossible to get that in. I did enlarge the hole a little bit with a metal awl that I have right here to make it go in a little bit easier, and I also used a little bit of oil. The instructions are not too clear at exactly what position that should be in, but on mine I believe that is the correct orientation that holder should be in, or that bracket should be in. Okay, now next we're going to take our hatchet, and you'll notice on this side there is a hole, and that's going to go over this lug right here. So the way this is going to go in, so we're going to insert our handle in through that hole there on the bracket side, slip the blade in through this covering, and then press into that lug, and this should then attach to the Jeep. Now it is a tight fit to get that lug into that hole, but once you have it in, the hatchet is now attached to the Jeep. Okay, next we're going to put our shovel in, and you'll notice here there is a hole right here, and that's going to go onto the lug that's right here, and then we're going to take the blade of the shovel and insert it into the holder over here. So this is going to go in just like this. Going to try to match up that hole to that lug, push this in, and then we'll have our shovel onto the Jeep. Okay, we have our tools on the Jeep, and this bracket right back here, you can see that it's going in at an angle. It starts at the top left, goes down to the bottom right, and this is correct. This actually matches one of the pictures in the instructions. So the large lug does go in the bottom hole and the small lug goes in the top hole. And that is a very tight fit. No glue is used to put that in. But if it does come out during the construction of the Jeep, I will probably end up putting glue on there. But right now, there is no glue on that. It's just holding it on its own. And if you do have a little bit of a problem trying to get that small lug into the hole, just take a round file, and enlarge that hole a little bit, and then put a little bit of oil on the lug, and you shouldn't have too much of a problem getting that in. But it's a very tight fit, so take your time, because that part can easily break. It's a very fragile part. Okay, now we have our shovel on the Jeep, and the only thing that's holding the shovel on the Jeep is the lug right there. I'm surprised that they did not include a bracket back here, or maybe a strap, which is what they use on the real Jeep. There's a strap back here that goes into these holders right here. There's a holder here and a kind of a holder over here where they threaded a leather strap or a cloth strap around and secured this end of the shovel onto the Jeep, but we don't have one. So we have a magical shovel. You heard of the magic bullet? Meet the magic shovel. Because on our Jeep, the only thing that's holding this shovel onto the Jeep is that lug, and I can guarantee you there is no lug on the real Jeep. So I'm surprised that they didn't include something back here. But maybe somebody in the mod community can make something that like a bracket, or maybe a leather strap or something, or make some sort of a modification so that there is a bracket or something holding this side of the handle of the shovel onto the Jeep. But those are our tools on the Jeep, and that's all there is to do in that stage. Okay, on stage 78, looks like we're going to start working on the machine gun. So get these parts out real quick. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we want to take our barrel, which is metal, and we take this muzzle, which is plastic, and we slip it through this end of the barrel all the way up until it gets to about like that. You want this part of the barrel showing through on that side of the muzzle. So you want it to look just like that. Okay, next what we want to do is we want to take these rings, which are plastic, on this sprue, and we want to cut them off of this sprue, keeping very close attention that we don't cut too close to the bottom here, because there's a hole that we're going to need later. Okay, next we want to take this metal part here, and these plastic rings that we just cut off the sprue, you want to thread them through here onto this metal part. You want to work your way down, so when you're done, it looks just like that, with these two rings now on this long bar right here. And they are very loose, they do move around. So you want to just be very careful and very slowly get those rings into this position. Okay, next we want to take this bar, which is hollow. It's got an open end on both sides, and we're going to then thread it onto the back end of this piece here, so it's going to look something like that when it's done. And this is very fiddly, so I'm going to get my magnifying glasses and come back and show you what that looks once it's installed. So once you have that bar installed, it should look just like that. Okay, now we get to the tricky part, and I say the tricky part only because according to the instructions, one of these rings is bigger than the other. And it's important to identify, according to the instructions, which ring is bigger. And for the life of me, I can't figure out which one it is on mine. I'm just going to take my best guess. But whichever ring that you identify is the larger ring, that's the ring that you want to lead on as you're putting this onto the barrel. So let me get this on and show you what that's going to look like. Okay, when you're done, that's how that should look. And I don't know if I got the bigger ring on first or not. Both rings were hard to get up to this part of the barrel as the barrel got larger, and took a little bit of very, very slight maneuvering to get those rings into position. So take your time. Those rings are plastic and they can easily break. So just take your time getting those on there. But that's how that should look once that's installed. Okay, next we take this part right here This is plastic, and they call this the muzzle suppressor, I think. And there's a hole right here at the end of the barrel, and you just push that in just like that. So push to fit, and it goes on just like that. No problems at all. Now we do have one part left over, that's this piece right here, but that's all there is to do, and that's stage. Okay, in stage 79, we have more parts for the machine gun. Okay, the first thing we want is this piece right here looking like this. And we want this piece right here. There's a hole on this side here. And this is going to be attached to this piece with this lug facing in this direction. This part is going to go right there. And we're going to fasten that in with an IP screw. Now the IP screw is a very, very tiny screw. And I'm going to be using my PH00 screwdriver for that. Now once that's in, it should look just like that. And that is a very fiddly piece, so take your time with it. The way that I got this on is that I held the screw like this and the screwdriver just like that, and then I turned this part onto the screw until it caught, and then finished it off with the screwdriver. But take your time with it. It's very, very, very fiddly. Okay, next we have these machine gun covers. You have a right and you have a left. So this is the left and this is the right. And the way that you can tell them apart is that the left has a smooth slot right here, which the right does not have. And it is the right that we want to start off with. So this is the part we want now. And you're going to take the handle that we just worked on, and there's this lug right here that's going to go into the top hole right there. It's going to go in just like this, and we're going to secure that in with a DM screw. Okay, and when the screw number ends in M, it means it's going in metal, which means I've got a little bit of 3-in-1 oil on that screw. I'm going to screw that in just like that. Okay, so that's how that looks. Okay, next we're going to take the front sights looking like this. And in this configuration for this piece here, we're going to take this little tiny piece looking like this. And it's going to go in, this top lug right here is going to go into the top center. So let me get this in and show you what this is going to look like. So that's going to look like just like that. It just slips right into that area right here. So you've got the L shape of that little tiny piece. I'm going to put this in one more time. You have this piece looking like that, this piece right here, and this kind of just slots in like that. Okay, we're going to move that aside. Okay, we're going to bring over our left gun mount looking like this. I'm going to turn it over. And this piece right here has kind of like a long ledge right here, okay, on the bottom. And there is a kind of a lug right here on the top left. And there is a notch right here. What's going to happen is you're going to take this piece here and you're going to insert this notch or this lug area into this little notch area right here. So it's going to look like that. So I get that in there. It's going to look just like that. So it's not on there firm, but it's kind of like balanced on there. So that's how that looks. So this whole assembly is going to be a little on the fiddly side. So this is going to go here like this. Then we're going to take our gun that we've been working on, and this notch right here is going to fall into this notch right there, just like that. And we're going to try to keep this part right in here like so. Then we're going to get the other side of our gun mount looking like this, and we're going to try to sandwich all this together like that, while at the same time trying to keep this part installed. So I'm going to try to get this all put together. I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, now when you have it all sandwiched together, that's how it should look, just like that. Okay, now the sights that we worked on, which is this little tiny piece here, is going to go into this little slot right there, making sure that this hole here is facing in this direction so that the screw can secure that in. Okay? So this part is going to go in like this, just like that, and we're going to then secure that in with a ZM screw there, a YM screw here at the very bottom, and another YM screw here on the side here. So let me get these all screwed in and show you what this all looks like. Okay, there's our gun assembled to this point. Now getting the sight in was a little bit difficult to do. It was a little bit hard to line the holes up because you've got a hole here for the sight. I don't know if we can see it here or not, but you got that sight right there. That's got a hole, and then this bracket that goes around also has a hole, which this screw has got to go through both this piece here and the sight, and also all the way to the other end. And the holes had a little bit of problem trying to line up, so I took my my round file, and lined up all those holes. But once the holes were lined up, really had no problem. You want to make sure that the sight is correctly seated into the top of the gun port here, and there is an indent that follows around the curvature of this. So there's an indent that goes around this way onto the gun, and you want to make sure that the sight fits down into that, or this round piece goes into that little indent. So that's how that should look when that's installed, just like that. And then you have this piece here installed, looking like that. And then of course you have this handle here, looking like that. And that's all there is to do in that stage. Okay, in stage 80, we have more details for the gun. So let's get all these parts out. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to cut this little tiny piece off of this sprue. And then we want to take our gun and we're going to put that little tiny piece into this little tiny hole on the back of our gun. When you get that piece in, it looks just like that, and that is a very tight fit, so it does not need any glue. Okay, next we take this piece here, looking like this. We're going to put it into the larger hole right underneath the piece that we just put in. So that's a push to fit also. That's going to go in just like this. Okay, now that's also a very tight fit, but that's how those two pieces should look once they're installed. Okay, now the following pieces are going to be a little fiddly to do. We're going to take this little tiny piece here, which they call the trigger, and that's going to go on like this. Kind of balance on like that. Then we're going to take this piece here, which they call the shock absorber, and we're going to put it over that piece just like this, and we're going to secure that in with 2 TM screws. Now when you're going to attach this piece, pay close attention to the other side. It's got a little tiny lug right there. Don't know if you can see that or not. That little tiny lug is going to go into the center hole of this piece here. It's almost like a locating lug. And then we're going to secure that down with 2 TM screws. So this is turning out to be very, very fiddly. So what I'm going to do to keep this piece in place, I'm going to put just a little bit of grease right there to help hold that in place. So it's going to go in just like that. And then I'm going to be able to then pre-screw this in to the bracket and then marry it together here like that. So this is going to be really fiddly. I'm going to need my magnifying glasses. I'm going to have to do this off camera. So when I get this on, I'll come back and show you what this is going to look like. And that's how that should look once that's installed. Okay, now before we mount this piece here, we're going to have to mount these handles. And the handle is going to go underneath the mount that we just now attached here. It's going to attach just like this, and we're going to secure that in with 2, one on each side, IP screws. Okay, now the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to pre-screw the screw into the bracket like you see here, and then I'm going to take our handle. I'm going to thread that screw just by turning the handle to get that screw into the handle, and then I'm going to finish it off by using my screwdriver. Okay, got the handle partially screwed in. I'm not going to put it in tight until I get the bottom bracket in. Okay, and there are the two handles in. Now I'm going to put the bottom bracket on, and then also at the same time fix those handles. Okay, and that's how the handles look once they're installed. And on that side. Okay, now we're going to take the locking rod, which is this part right here, and we're going to fix it in at the bottom of the gun right there. We're going to secure that in with an AM screw. And that's how that looks when that's installed. Now it does look like it has an angle coming down, and I'm not sure if that's the right angle. I don't know if it should be going in this direction or in the other direction, but I'm sure I'll find out once I get a little bit further into the build. But that's how that looks right now. And that's all there is to do in that stage, and that's all there is to do in that pack. Okay, in this pack we finished getting the tools on the Jeep, and we also attached the spare tire there on the back. Give you a better look at that. And then we started to construct the gun, which we have right here. Looking pretty good. Okay, I've put a link in the descriptions and a QR code on screen that will take you right on over to iXO Collections if you'd like to get this for yourself. I really hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up, as this does help the channel. And if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please remember to do so. And the bell icon, as that not only helps the channel, but it will also notify you of new videos that have been posted. Other than that, always have fun in your garage, your workshop, or wherever it is that you build your models. And until next time, thanks for watching.